Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharacham Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastvanirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaha te mayi santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu athanu mimamsyamevate manye viditam. Hari Om. We had seen in the last session that the teacher wants to make sure the student doesn't go away with half knowledge or has not understood the truth as it is. That is why this mantra came, where the teacher himself presented a perspective and said, if you think Brahman to be this way, then there is more to be thought about. Think Brahman to be which way? If you think that I know Brahman very well, yadi manyase suveda iti dabhram eva api nunam, then certainly you have understood some limited expression of Brahma. Why is the teacher so insistent that, again and again he is repeating, Brahman is not having any conditioning. If you know with conditioning, then you have not understood Brahman. The problem with giving reality to conditioning means one is giving reality to duality. If that duality remains, there is no Advaitam, there is no moksha in true sense. What was the premise of Ajnanam? What did we define ignorance as? Not knowing nature of Brahma, that is ignorance. Means not knowing my nature as unconditioned consciousness, that is ignorance. As long as conditionings are there, some or the other dukkham, some or the other sorrow will keep coming from them. So after studying Vedanta, after doing everything, if the student has protected that conditioning under whichever pretext, so teacher wants to make sure that he doesn't stay with that conditioning. Most importantly, giving reality to that conditioning. either individual or total. So that is why the teacher is again and again pointing this thing. And also he wants to make sure that the student has not understood Brahma as an object. In general, nobody will say that I know Brahma as an object. Even the student will say, no, I know Brahma, not as an object. But in the thought or in our expression, if there are some indicators which hint at Brahman being some substratum and that Brahma having certain qualities, like there is Brahma and there is consciousness of Brahma, this statement itself implies that there are two things. There is consciousness, which is attribute, and Brahman, which is having that attribute. To remove that idea, we had that whole discussion, about why can't consciousness be an attribute of Brahma? Okay, last session we had seen that, but that was coming from this point, that if the student says, I know Brahman very well, he says even there is a chance that you have understood Brahman to be some object, and that object Brahma is having qualities of consciousness. Okay. How did we enter into that part? There was a Purva Paksha. There was a question which was asked, because Bhagavan Shankaracharya said that if you have known Brahman with conditioning, that is limited understanding, he elaborated that bhashya. The Purva Paksha asked, are there two Brahmans, which is one big Brahman and one small Brahman? Bhagavan said, bigness and smallness is there only with respect to conditioning, but not from the standpoint of Brahma. Brahma is unconditioned. It has nothing to do with conditionings. There is no sambandha. Ashabdam, asparsham, that mantra was used and said from Brahman's standpoint, this is what it is. But then the Purva Paksha asked, why can't we take Chaitanya as an indicator or as an attribute of Brahma? Okay, and that is where we entered into that discussion, where Bhagavan Shankaracharya said, the word consciousness also is used only to eliminate inert conditioning. It is used as a upadesha, but it is not an attribute of Brahma. Upadesha means what? Instruction. You cannot give teaching or instruction without taking the support of conditioning. So to remove inert conditionings, the word Chaitanya is used, so we can shift our attention to Brahma. But if somebody forms an idea that there is some Brahma which is like a light, Chaitanya means generally take it as a light, and in Hindi you have words also, Atma Jyoti. You see, Jyoti means a lamp. So to negate all those ideas of objectifying this Chaitanya, we have all this discussion that we are doing right now. Okay. In technical words, this is called as Dharma Dharmi Sambandha. Unknowingly, our understanding of Brahma goes into Dharma Dharmi Sambandha. Means there is one substratum and then it has different qualities. Just like you say, this flower is fragrant, right? So there is fragrance and it is residing in that flower. Or any color for that matter. You say this is yellow cloth. So yellowness is a quality which is residing in this cloth. Meaning what? You can have this cloth separate from that yellow color. In that way, we cannot have Chaitanya and Brahma. Chaitanya cannot be a quality which is there in Brahma. The Chaitanya alone is Brahma. That alone is existence. That alone is infinite. We saw a few examples which are very helpful for Nididhyasana. What is the main point over here? All conditionings, most importantly panchakoshas, physical body, mind, that has no sambandha with Atma. But if you say if it has no sambandha, then why are you pointing out Atma as witness of thoughts, which is beyond this physical body? If you look at the previous discussion, sambandha is established only for indicating or giving the teaching, not to say that Brahma has got any conditionings of mind or physical body. Okay, so all conditionings are only to shift our attention, but our understanding should be I am that consciousness which is devoid of even this mind and this physical body. Okay, just like this tree, the branch of a tree is used to indicate that thin moon which is there. But because it is used to indicate doesn't mean there is a relationship between branch of a tree and the moon. In the same way, if a thought is used to indicate Atma, it does not mean that Atma has thought as its, or Atma is getting conditioned by this thought. More and more we think about Advaita Vedanta from 2 degrees of reality standpoint. More we will get conviction in this knowledge. Take examples of mirage water and desert sand. Take example of snake and rope. Bhagwan Shankaracharya has written one text called as Aparoksha Anubhuti, where he gives a galore of examples to show what? To show the relationship between Atma and this mind, Atma and this Jagat. All examples are Vivarta. Vivarta means 2 degrees of reality. One is an appearance, another one is a substratum. So more we take those examples, our Nididhyasanam will become more deeper. Another example we had seen was the sun and the reflection of the sun in the water. You can use the reflection to look at the sun. But if you say there is some sambandha, means if something happens to this reflected sun, there is some change coming to that original sun, we say no, there is no sambandha. This reflection is only happening because there is a conditioning or a medium available. You ask the sun, why are you getting reflected? He says, I'm not doing anything. You ask the water. In the same way, if we try to ask questions about why is Brahma getting reflected in mind? Why do you have reflected consciousness in the first place? Brahma will say, I'm oblivious of this creation. Okay. There is no creation in me. Purpose of creation is only to shift attention to Atma. I hope now you are comfortable with both the words, Atma and Brahma. It is the same thing with reference to 2 different conditionings. It is said in different ways. With respect to Panchakosha, we say Atma. With respect to Jagat, we say Brahma. But that Chaitanya, that Atma alone is Brahma. Okay. So this is what we had seen in the last session. And now, again, this mantra is concluded, where Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji summarizes whatever we have discussed. Yadasya brahmano rupam iti purvena sambandha. You see the mantra, yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam. Tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya tvam. So he says that word yadasya is connected with the previous portion, whatever we have discussed. If you think in this way, yadasya tvam iti purvena sambandha. Na kevalam adhyatma upadi परिच्छिन्नस्य अस्य ब्रह्मण रूपम त्वम अल्पम वेत्थ यत् अपि अधिदैवता उपादि परिच्छिन्नस्य अस्य ब्रह्मणः रूपम देवेषु वेत्थ त्वम तदपि नूनं dabhram eva vetha iti manye aham. Teacher is telling the student, it is not only that you have understood adhyatma upadi parichinna, means consciousness conditioned by individual conditioning, means any kind of upasana done such that we invoke Brahma Buddhi in Jiva. In Upasana, we had seen that in a particular locus, something else is superimposed. So one type of Upasana is called as Ahangrahopasana. So you take this Aham, take this Jiva or Ahankara, you say, and in that Aham, you make or create this thought that this Aham alone is Brahma. This Aham alone is infinite. So that Upasana is called as Ahangrahopasana. So he's saying that this Adhyatma Upadi Parichinna Upasana which is there, understanding that alone to be Brahma is limited. Brahma has nothing to do with this Ahankara. Brahma is unconditioned by this Jiva. Jiva means conditionings of Jiva. So that is the main point over here. Adhyatma Upadi Parichinnasya asya Brahmana Rupam tvam alpam vetha. Certainly you have understood only a limited part of it. There is something more to inquire. Then he says, in the same way, Adi Devata Upadi. If you take cosmic conditionings and then invoke Brahma in those conditionings, that is also limited. So either it is Hiranyagarbha Upasana or taking some Devata and doing this bhava that this Devata is Brahma. Devata, not Ishvara. If you take limited expression or if you take some conditioning and then invoke Brahma Buddhi there, he says that is also limited understanding. Okay, in simple words, he's pointing out at Ahangrahopasana and Hiranyagarbha Upasana or some other cosmic upasanas which are done. Whatever is understood with conditioning, the teacher is saying that is limited understanding. Okay. At the same time, we should appreciate the importance of Upasana. Bhagwan is not just simply criticizing it or something. There is no criticism actually. It's only the right perspective. He's saying if you understand with conditioning, there is something more to inquire into. And if you notice our Vedanta Sara, Upasana falls under Adhikari. Okay, it is not Vishaya of Vedanta. All the 6 types of karmas we saw, right? Nitya, Naimittika, Prayaschitta, then was Upasana. These karmas should be done and Kamya Nishiddha should be given up. After that comes Vishaya. Jiva Brahma Aikya, that is the Vishaya of Vedanta, not Upasana Vidya. But appreciating that, whatever Siddhis Mahatmas had, all of it was because of Upasana. You know, whatever great qualities they expressed, whatever things they did in this world. You might have heard a story of Bhagwan Shankaracharya and Padma Padacharya ji. He goes to debate with some scholar and he gets into some tantric, debate. And that other tantric, he does some spells on Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. And Padma Padacharya ji saves him by invoking Narsimha Bhagwan. He was a Narsimha Bhagwan Upasaka. And that he is able to invoke and just take away everything from his Acharya. The point here is Upasana has its own power. So we should appreciate that aspect also. Do it ourselves so that we benefit and get that result. But at the same time, when Tattva Nishchaya has to be done, when we have to understand a thing as it is, that is when these bhashyas will give lot of clarity. Okay. If we say we are students of Advaita Vedanta, then we have to understand it in the right way. Now, this portion is a beautiful portion for Nididhyasanam. While you are seated at the seat of meditation, the sadhaka should have this question. What is it? That you keep saying, shift your attention to Brahma, shift your attention to Brahma. Use a thought to shift attention. I shift, but it doesn't stay for long. It goes again to the same Vishayas, which are Vishaya of thoughts. In thought means of this world. What did we say? Shift attention from object, shift attention from thought, come to illuminator of thought. But how do I keep my mind in Brahma? Says, look at this bhashya, you will get a lot of pointers. Yat adhyatmam yadapi deveshu tadapi cha upadi parichinnatvat dabhratvat na nivartate. Means again the same point is mentioned. That understand this truth to be devoid of limited conditionings. Okay. But what is the nature of Brahma that you see in this portion? Yattu vidhvasta sarvopadi vishesham. Brahma is that which is known after all conditionings are negated. Vidhvasta sarva upadi vishesham means all visheshanas which are there in the form of upadis, form of these conditionings, when they are understood to be of a different degree of reality. First of all, distancing ourselves from it, and second, knowing it to be of a different degree of reality, what will you find? You will find Brahma which is Shanta Swarupa. It is Shantam, Anantam. It is not illumining only these individual thoughts. It is that consciousness in which all thoughts are illumined. It is infinite. It is Ekam. There is no parts, no divisions in this Atma. And it is Advaitam. It is non-dual. There is nothing other than this Atma. Just like between mirage water and desert sand, there is nothing other than the desert sand. Bhumakhyam Nityam Brahma. That which is having this infinitude, which is eternal, that Brahma I am. Okay. So one word we can take and just keep our mind in that lakshana. Otherwise, this mind is not going to stay and automatically abide in Brahma. Okay. If you carefully do Nididhyasanam, sadhaka should come to this point that I'm able to shift, but this mind again goes back into Vishayas. Say after you shift, you take lakshana of Brahma and then keep your mind in that lakshana. This is not a new idea. We have seen this in Drugdrishya Viveka, Drishyanuviddha and Shabdanuviddha. So in Drishyanuviddha Samadhi, you just shift attention from thoughts by saying that I am witness of thoughts. Kamadhyaha chittaga drishyaha tat sakshitvena chetanam. But after you do that, mind is not going to stay there for a long time. To abide in Atma, we have to go to the next one, which is Shabdanuviddha. Asangas Satchidanandaha Swaprabho Dvaitavarjitaha. So any lakshana you take, and it doesn't need to be in Sanskrit only. Okay, meaning of that we should understand. But if it's in Sanskrit, it will be very precise and crisp. You see how nice these words are? Shantam, Anantam, Ekam, Advitiyam. So one word, you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go to the next word, go to the next word. Now you are not changing the subject. Huh? Same Brahma, one is able to keep the mind, abide in it by using these different indicators. Okay. Yat evam athanu tasmat manye adya api mimamsyam vicharyam evate tava Brahma. If you think Brahma is Suvedya, if you know it very well, then you should go and think again. This whole topic can be explained in this one simple example. You see this pot which is there? The space in that pot is pot space. And then if you put that pot in a room, that space in the room is room space. But if I have understood space only with respect to these conditionings, then what will the teacher say? You have to think more. This is Adhyatma Upadhi Parichinna. The pot space is that space conditioned by individual pot, right? Means consciousness conditioned by mind, body, sense organ, everything. If I think that space is actually conditioned by that, that is limited understanding. But if I say, no, space is not so small. It is very big. How big is it? It is as big as this room. Conditioned by something bigger. So that is also limited understanding. What is true understanding? True understanding is space is unconditioned by this pot or by that room. There is no sambandha, no relation between space and this conditioning. So in that way, one should understand this Chaitanya is unconditioned by anything. Okay, that is the main point over here. Unconditioned consciousness. Okay. So now the student goes in solitude. He reflects very quietly and he comes back. Many times as sadhakas, we have the question that I'm doing Shravanam, but I feel that Mananam is not happening very effectively. What is the guidance available in our scripture for powerful and good Mananam? So that this knowledge becomes more assimilated, what should I do? So do this, which Kenopanishad Shishya is doing. This is just to show us how Mananam should be done. Evam acharya uktaha shishyah ekante upavishtaha. So first ingredient for Mananam is solitude. If we think we will study Vedanta and not give time by ourselves, on our own. Now this is even independent of discussions we do with others. You see how specific word is written, ekante upavishtaha. So that is one ingredient. First sit down in a quiet place after you have heard. Without hearing, if you go and sit in solitude, that solitude bothers a lot. Because mind doesn't know what to do. Right? Vedanta doesn't encourage solitude without data, without content. I say mind will go here and there. It might even quieten for some time, but then it's like that rubber ball bouncing up once you remove the hand. This is first is solitude. Samahita san, withdrawing the mind from outer things, meaning making sure that this mind is available for me. Samahita means that from whatever things which are outside that I'm involved in, at least taking some time out where I can make this mind available for thinking about Mahavakya. Yathoktam acharyena agamam arthatah vicharya. Now what he is doing, whatever he has heard from teacher, he is reflecting on it, not shabdatah, arthatah. Arthata means what? he is going beyond the words, not getting stuck by any word, first either in expression or, most importantly, the literal meaning of Mahavakya. Okay, he's not trying to say, how can this body be Brahma? Okay, because what is the literal meaning of Tvam? Tvam will refer to this person. In Tattvamasi Mahavakya, Tvam will refer to this person. He says that he is able to go beyond. Means every lakshana of Brahma he is matching. And then he's saying, this cannot be Brahma. This cannot be Brahma. Going beyond words, going to what is indicated by Mahavakya. Okay. Agamam arthata vicharya tarkatascha nirdharya. Now, this is the beauty of Upanishads. Although so much emphasis is given that Upanishad is pramana, Upanishad is pramana, but after using Upanishad pramana, one should strengthen that conviction with logic. Okay, sufficient logic will be used, and then this knowledge will be well assimilated. These are all ingredients of Mananam. Swanubhavam krutva acharya sakasham upagamya uvacha. One meaning of Swanubhava is he has done nididhyasana. Okay, after this Mananam, he has done nididhyasanam, meditated upon Mahavakya. Then he gets this conviction, goes back to the teacher. Okay, acharya sakasham upagamya uvacha. Manye aham ata idanim viditam brahma iti. I have understood Brahma. So again you came back. I just told na, yadi manye se suvedeti. He says, no, you see my word, I am not saying suveda. I am saying viditam Brahma. So that he is going to explain in the next mantra. But this portion is a very important portion for sincere sadhakas. If you want guidance on Mananam, Bhagavan says Mananam sometimes is more difficult than Shravanam. You know why? Because in Shravanam, we have the support of Acharya. We have support of listening to those ideas. Bhagavan Shankaracharya's words are there. Constantly you are reflecting and listening to something. But you'll notice in Mananam, we are on our own. There is no support available. If mind goes, it goes. You might sit for a given duration of time, but not being able to reflect on that topic. So here it is said, if you notice another aspect in this bhashya, all of these are qualities of sadhana chatushtaya. You see, ekante upavishtaha means you have uparati. Samahita san, shama, dama is there. Yathoktam acharena agamam artha vicharya. Means shraddha should be there and being able to put the mind in that subject. Samadhanam also should be there. So these are, some indicators for Mananam, mainly with regards to how to internalize this teaching. Now everybody should be ready. Next mantra is a curveball. Means it is something which is said in a cryptic way, but if we appreciate it, it's very simple actually, but you have to be very patient with this next mantra. Naham manye suvedeti, naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, no na vedeti vedacha, yonas tadveda tadveda, yonas tadveda tadveda, no na vedeti vedacha, no na vedeti vedacha. I'll directly translate it and then you see if you can catch it. First line, he is making 4 statements. Okay. What is the first line? Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha. First statement is Naham manye suveda iti. Okay. First statement is only this much. Naham manye suveda iti. Now he has come back and he is telling to the teacher, Oh teacher, I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Naham manye suveda iti. Aham suveda iti na manye. I don't say I know Brahma very well. Teacher must have said, okay, so then you don't know. He says, no. No na veda iti. Not that I don't know. Second statement. Huh? What was the first statement? Naham manye suveda iti. I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Oh, so then you don't know Brahman? Teacher must have asked. Student says, that is also not the case. It is not that Brahman is unknown to me. Na veda iti na. Not that it is not known. Third sentence is Veda. I know it. And this cha means I don't know it. Okay. Veda means I know it. Cha means I don't know it. Now what is the first sentence again? Naham manye suvedeti. I don't say that I know Brahman very well. At the same time, it is not that I don't know Brahma. No, na Veda iti. Third statement is Veda. I know it, and cha is I don't know it. And you look at the confidence of this student, he says, Yonas tadveda tadveda. Oh teacher, amongst all the students sitting here, the one who has understood my cryptic statement, that student has understood nature of Brahma. Yaha, naha means amongst us. Tadveda. Tadveda means this sentence which I just said, one who has understood that statement, that refers to that. That student has understood. Yo naha tadveda tadveda. What is that statement? Again he repeats. No na vedeti vedacha. It is not that Brahman is unknown. I know Brahma, but I don't know Brahma. The teacher is so happy with the student. You know why? Because he has explained the meaning of Mahavakya in his own words. This same mantra is a restatement of Mahavakya, Anya Deva Tadviditat, Atho Aviditat Adhi. And this is the result of Mananam. Somebody who has reflected, digested very well, they can present it in the same teaching in their own words. Like how our Parvati ji presented after Shiva Gita. Lord Shiva gave such an elaborate teaching in, I think, almost 4 dohas. He gave the teaching and he asked Parvati ji, what did you understand? Rama Brahma, Chinmaya Abhinasi. He says Rama is Brahma, he is Chinmaya and Avinashi. Sarva Rahita Saba Ura Pura Basi. In his own form, he is unconditioned. Sarva Rahita is unconditioned by any upadhis. But with conditioning, he is residing in each and everything of this creation. Lord Shiva must have said, I never said this, but you have understood my teaching, you have digested it, and then you are presenting in your own words. So what does he say? Na aham manye suvedeti. Means only that thing which is vidita, which is gross or subtle, that thing can be known very well. Okay. Mahavakya said, Anya Deva Tad Viditat. Means Brahman is different from Vidita. So that he is again saying over here, Naham Manye Suvedeti. But second part of Mahavakya is, Atho Aviditat Adhi. Brahman is even different from unknown. That is why he is saying, Nona Vedeti. It is not that Brahman is unknown to me. Why? Because Chaitanya can never be unknown. It is always me, myself. That I have understood. Veda and cha. So in this way, I know it also and I don't know it. Means I know it as aparoksha, aparichinna aham. Now these words, I hope all of you are comfortable because English translation mellows down the meaning. Aparoksha, aparichinna aham, that I know, and I don't know Brahma as an object. Okay, so that cha is referring to other part. Now I know some of you will be overwhelmed by this mantra. You say, what did he say? 4 sentences I couldn't get. You say, yes, look at this color coding. It's easier that way. Yellow one is the first sentence. Naham manye suvedeti. This is, I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Naham manye suvedeti. Then this is the second statement. Na veda iti na. Not that, nor do I say that I don't know Brahman. There are 2 nas, right? Na veda iti na. So he's saying, I don't know, I'm not saying that I know Brahman very well, nor do I say that I don't know Brahman. Veda, thus I know it and I don't know it. Okay, Veda means what? I know it in the same way that you have indicated, and I don't know it anymore as an object. Okay, Yonas tadveda, nona vedeti vedacha. Amongst us students, those who have understood the import of this cryptic statement of mine, they have understood nature of Brahman. Now, one thing we should notice, this is not out of arrogance he is saying. He is saying this only because his statement is a restatement of Mahavakya. Otherwise, if you just look at the second statement, who will have that courage to go in front of teacher and says, amongst all your students, whoever has understood me, they have understood. He says, no, I'm saying that because whatever I have said, that is Mahavakya only. In a different way, I have presented it. Okay, now you see Bhashya. Katham iti shrunu, na aham manye suveda iti. Now the student is telling teacher, I have understood what is the nature of Brahma, and I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Na eva aham manye suveda brahma iti. Same elaboration is given. Na eva tarhi viditam tvaya brahma iti ukte aha. If the teacher or somebody says, if you don't know it well, then you don't know it. Like an ignorant person also doesn't know Brahma. You also don't know Brahma. What is the difference between you and any other person? That's why he's making another statement. Nona veda iti vedacha. The second, third, and fourth together is given. No na veda iti means not that Brahman is unknown to me. Veda, I know it, and then cha shabda should be understood as I don't know it. That's why Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji clarifies that Veda cha iti shabdat na veda cha. So understand that from that cha shabda, what he implies is Veda means I know, cha means I don't know. Okay. So now in simple words, what he's saying is Brahman is not known to me as something which is gross or subtle. Means I have not mixed up any conditioning in Brahma and then I know Brahma. This is not in that way. That is why Naham Manye Suvedeti. At the same time, Brahman is not completely unknown. Why? Because it is always recognized as Aham. This I is ever there. There is never a time when I am devoid of this consciousness. The first conditioning that we are familiar with is a thought, right? And every thought rises in that consciousness. Because even before this thought is there, I am there. When that thought has come, I am illumining that thought. And when that thought merges, it merges back into me only. So this Chaitanya is never unknown, even in deep sleep. When thought is not there, he says, I am still there. So that is why I cannot say that this Chaitanya is something unknown. What is happening is I'm mixing up with conditionings and knowing it to be something finite. So that finitude I have let gone off, and I've understood Brahma as unconditioned. Now, teacher points out that you are contradicting yourself. What does he say? Nanu vipratishiddham na aham manye suveda iti, no na veda iti, veda chaiti. On one hand, you say suveda, and again you say no na veda iti. I don't know, I know. Means you are again and again contradicting yourself. यदि न मन्यसे सुवेद इति कथम मन्यसे वेद इति चेत. If you say that you don't know Brahman very well, then again why do you say Veda? Why do you say I know it? Why? Because he says, if one object you know, you either know it or you know it with doubts. If you know it with doubts or you have erroneous knowledge of that thing, what will you say? I know that thing, but I don't know it very well. Is that your case? That you know Brahman, but you don't have clear knowledge about Brahman. That is why you are saying you don't know it very well. Okay, you see what he is saying. Ata manyase veda eva iti, katham na manyase suveda iti. If you say you know it, then why don't you just say you know it very well? Because in this world, ekam vastu yena jnayate, tena eva tadeva vastu na suvidnyayate iti vipratishiddham samshaya viparyayo varjayitva. Means unless you have samshaya viparyaya, unless you have doubt about something or erroneous knowledge about something, then you will not say that you know something but you don't know it well. Okay? Unless you have a doubt, you will not make such a statement. Right? You have a doubtless knowledge about some technology, let us say. So what will you say? I'm good in that language, whatever coding language, and I know it very well. But if I have some doubts, I've just started learning it, what will I say? I know it, but I don't know it very well. Suveda I will not say, but I will say Veda. So teacher is catching that. He's saying you are contradicting yourself by saying Veda also and Suveda also. Okay, is it that you are having some kind of doubts? So then he says, teacher is saying this, Nacha Brahma samshayitattvena jneyam viparita tvena va iti niyantum shakyam. Means you should be very clear that doubtful knowledge of Brahma doesn't do good to any sadhaka. Either you understand Brahma as unconditioned and Jagat as an appearance, or you are having limited knowledge and you will have limited, result of knowledge also. So samshaya jnanam is not something that we want. So that's why the teacher is saying, what have you understood? Looks like again you have some confusion. Samshaya viparyayo hi sarvatra anarthakaratvena eva prasiddhau. Bhagavan says, if you understand very well, it is good. But if you misunderstand or half-baked knowledge is there, that is anarthakara. It will cause a lot of difficulties, a lot of havoc, for us. Like how we see in the case of who is the Kamsa. When Devaki ji, he does all those things. Kamsa also gives Vedanta, to Devaki ji, and our Hiranyakashipu also. He consoles Hiranyaksha and his family and everything with Vedanta. But that is Viparita Jnanam, applying in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what Bhagavan is saying here is, our knowledge should be doubtless. So I want to make sure whether you have doubtless knowledge or still you are getting stuck with something. Okay, the same thing in English. Now the student, you remember this was called as Thuna Nikhanana, right? Shaking the pole. Now that pole is very well rooted. Okay. Teacher tries to shake it the second time, it doesn't get shaken. He remains very firm in his conviction. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji points out, we will see the Bhashya, but let us just see the slide first here. He says there are 4 anchors if we can hold on to. Our spiritual journey will be very, well anchored in this Vedantic knowledge. Means we will not get swayed here and there by different opinions or some kind of other thoughts. What are those 4 anchors? First he says is Agama. Guru Upadishta Agama Vakya, whichever Mahavakya we have understood from our Guru, holding on to that as Pramana. My Anubhava might not be there still. I'm still not able to appreciate Jagat is Mithya, Brahma is non-dual, which is okay. But if we hold on to that, our Mananam will become very deep. Okay, one is Agama Vakya, and second is tradition. Sampradaya Balat, he says. It is not out of his own insistence or fancy he is trying to make such a statement. He says this is time-tested knowledge. It has come from Sampradaya. Da means to give. Pra, Upasarga, means which is given in a very good way. Systematic way it has been given. And another Upasarga is added. Some Upasarga is added. Sampradaya. That knowledge which has been transferred from a long time in a very systematic way, that knowledge is called as Sampradaya. A lineage also gets the name Sampradaya. Like how we say this is from a particular gharana in music. What does a gharana mean? Means in that lineage, they have a systematic passing on of this knowledge. And different sampradayas are there in music also. So the student is holding on to that sampradaya. I don't want to start anything new, he says. Whatever I have heard, that I will go by. Okay, so you see Mahavakya, which was there, right, in 3rd mantra. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yathaitad anushishyat. Teacher himself had said that we don't know any other way of teaching this truth to others. Other than what? Other than indicating that this Brahma is you yourself, not something which is different from you. Don't objectify Brahma. That was the style of teaching. So student is remembering that. My teacher also had said, Sampradaya teaching is in this way. It is not by indicating Brahma as another vastu. And Mahavakya, Anya Devatad Viditat, Atho Aviditatati. That Mahavakya also he remembers. It is shining brilliantly in his mind. He knows precisely what is the meaning of Vidita, what is the meaning of Avidita, right? And what is Anyat. Okay, all that discussion he remembers. Iti Shushruma Purvesham Yenastad Vyachachakshire. This is Sampradaya Balat. So the student is saying, I have learnt it from Sampradaya, so I have full conviction in this knowledge. And after that, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to say in next Bhashya, he uses Upapatti. Upapatti also gives lot of strength. These things are Balam. If you want to put it in a different title, you can say, what are the things that will give strength to our Mananam? Okay. What will make sure that we will have more conviction in this knowledge and say that what I've understood is the right thing. So first 2 indicators was Mahavakya and Sampradaya, making sure that we have heard it correctly. We follow that traditional teaching. And third one is logic. Once logic is used on top of Mahavakya, on top of Upanishad Pramana, it gives a lot of conviction. Logic such as whatever is an object or whatever is known as an object is finite. So when it is said Anya Devatad Viditat, So I should start thinking Brahman is infinite, and whatever object I know is finite. So how can Vidita fall under the category of Brahman? Okay. Or aviditat adi means consciousness can never be unknown. So in that way also one can think about it. Anubhava doesn't mean some unique experience. Anubhava only means it is clear understanding and conviction in this knowledge. Okay. More we will see in the next session because Bhashya will come, and then we will. I just wanted to bring these ideas before we go into Bhashya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Bhumakyam means, Sadhaka is asking what is meant by Bhumakyam. Akyam means indicated. One, that word which is, or that object which is indicated by the word Bhuma. Akyam means indicated, that which has the name of Bhuma. Yes, consciousness is not an attribute of Brahman, it is Brahman. Right. You can also say the same statement now. Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha. If you have other questions, you can turn it into the Google form. We can take it up in the next session.